Snow fell like ashes from a dying sky. A terrified young woman ran barefoot through the forest with blood on her feet and tears in her eyes. Behind her came the howls of her own pack. An hour earlier the man chosen by the moon goddess had rejected her in front of everyone and kissed her beautiful stepsister. Now they wanted her dead. She reached the edge of a cliff and slipped. She screamed as she fell. But instead of crashing onto rocks, she landed on something warm. Something alive. A giant silver wolf slowly stood beneath her. Golden eyes locked onto hers. Then the enormous beast looked at the strange necklace around her neck and froze. A voice suddenly echoed through the storm. Protect the princess. Princess. She was only an abused Omega. So why did the most powerful king in the world look at her like he had just found someone he had been searching for his entire life? The first thing Elara heard was laughter. Not happy laughter. Cruel laughter. The kind that cuts deeper than a knife. She stood in the middle of the great hall with wine dripping from her dress and hundreds of eyes staring at her as if she were dirt beneath their feet. The blood moon ceremony had not even begun and she was already humiliated. Her stepsister Selena stood in front of her wearing a sparkling silver gown. Her lips curved into a smile that held no kindness. You always ruin everything, Selena said softly. Then she turned around and walked away as though pouring wine on someone was the most natural thing in the world. Few girls giggled. One of the warriors smirked. Elara lowered her eyes. She wanted to disappear. The hall was beautiful tonight. Long banners hung from the stone walls. Candles flickered like tiny stars. Music floated through the air. Everyone had dressed in their finest clothes. Everyone except her. Her dress was old and plain. A servant's dress. That was what she had become in her own home. A servant. Burden. An unwanted Omega. Her stepfather suddenly appeared beside her. His large hand grabbed her arm. You are embarrassing this family again. His voice was cold. I am sorry. The words left her lips automatically. She had spoken them all her life. Sorry for eating. Sorry for breathing. Sorry for existing. He looked at her with disgust. You should stay hidden tonight. No alpha would ever choose a girl like you. The words hurt. Not because they were new. Because they were familiar. Painful things often are. She nodded quietly. Yes. He released her arm as though touching her had dirted his hand. Then he walked away. Elara remained still. For a moment she simply stood there. Alone in a crowded room. Then her fingers slipped beneath her dress and found the moonstone necklace resting against her skin. It was cold, smooth, mysterious, the only thing she owned. Her adoptive mother had once told her the story. She had been found as a baby in the forest, wrapped in silk blankets, wearing this necklace. No one knew where she came from. No one knew who her parents were. Her mother used to smile whenever she touched the necklace. One day this stone will tell you who you really are. But her mother was dead. And the answers died with her. A loud drum echoed through the hall. Everyone became silent. The ceremony was beginning. Elara slowly looked toward the front of the room. Then she saw him. Alpha Daemon Blackwood. Broad-shouldered. Dark hair. Gray eyes. Every woman in the pack dreamed about him. He stood beneath the moon banner looking like a king. For a second his eyes moved across the crowd. Then they landed on her. She quickly looked away. Her cheeks became warm. She had admired him from afar for years. Never with hope. Only with quiet affection. A foolish little dream she kept hidden inside her heart. Because girls like her did not marry future alphas. Girls like her served them. The moon priest stepped forward. He raised his hands. Tonight the moon goddess will reveal the woman destined to stand beside our future alpha. Excited whispers spread through the hall. Selena smiled brightly. She was certain she would be chosen. Many were. She was beautiful and ambitious. Everything Elara was not. The priest handed Daemon a silver blade. The alpha cut his palm. Drops of blood fell into a golden bowl. The chanting began. Ancient words filled the air. The candles flickered. The room suddenly grew colder. Then a silver light burst from the bowl. Gasps filled the hall. The light floated through the crowd. Past noble daughters. Past warrior daughters. Past Selena. Then it stopped, right in front of Elara. Her heart stopped. The silver light wrapped around her wrist. A second thread shot toward Damon. It wrapped around his hand. The bond glowed brightly between them. Silence. Terrible silence. Then someone whispered, "The Omega." Another voice spoke. "It cannot be." Elara stared at the glowing thread. Her hands trembled. The moon goddess had chosen her. She slowly lifted her eyes to Damon. He looked shocked, almost frightened. Tears filled her eyes. For the first time in her life she felt seen. Chosen. Wanted. Her wolf stirred softly inside her chest. A warmth spread through her entire body. The word echoed through her soul. She took one step forward. Then another. A small smile appeared on her face. Damon. She barely whispered his name. The entire hall waited. Damon looked at her. Then he looked at the people watching him. Then at Selena. The warmth in his eyes disappeared. His face hardened. "No." The word struck her. She blinked. "What?" "I said no." His voice became louder. "This cannot happen." The smile slowly vanished from her face. "You are my mate." His jaw tightened. "You are an Omega." The room exploded with whispers. Lara's hand shook. "I did not choose this. You should have stayed invisible." Few people laughed. Her cheeks burned. She felt every eye on her, every stare, every judgment. Then Damon took a step back. "I cannot have an Omega beside me." Her breath caught. "Damon, please." His expression turned cold. "I reject you, Elara Nightshade." The words hit like thunder. Pain exploded inside her chest. She gasped. Her knees nearly gave out. The mate bond shattered. It felt as though someone had reached into her body and torn her heart apart with bare hands. Tears spilled down her face. The hall remained silent for one long terrible moment. Then came the laughter. Loud, cruel, merciless. Selena walked forward. A smile played on her lips. She wrapped her arms around Damon. "I will stand beside you." Then she kissed him. Right there. In front of everyone. The hall erupted into cheers. Elara could not breathe. Her world had ended. She looked around. No one pitied her. No one defended her. Not a single person. She was completely alone. Something inside her finally broke. She turned around. Then she walked away. No one stopped her. Outside the hall the cold night air struck her face. The first snow of winter was falling. She kept walking. Then she began to run. The tears would not stop. The pain in her chest burned. Every breath hurt. She ran through the village. Past the houses. Past the training grounds. Into the dark forest. Snow covered the ground. Branches clawed at her skin. Still she ran. Then she heard it. A wolf howl. Another answered. Then another. She looked back. Lights moved between the trees. Torches. People. They were following her. Fear gripped her heart. Then she heard Selena's voice carried by the wind. "Find her." A man's voice answered. "And if she resists?" Selena laughed. "Then kill her." Elara stopped breathing. Kill her. They wanted her dead. The mate rejection was not enough. The humiliation was not enough. Now they wanted her blood. She turned and ran faster. The forest became darker. The snow grew heavier. Her feet slipped. Her lungs burned. The howls came closer. Then suddenly the ground disappeared beneath her. She had reached the edge of a cliff. Too late. She fell. The world spun. Wind screamed around her. She closed her eyes. "This is how I die." Then she crashed into something warm. Something alive. A deep growl rumbled beneath her. Elara slowly opened her eyes. And froze. She was lying on the back of the largest wolf she had ever seen. Its fur was silver like moonlight. Its golden eyes glowed in the darkness. The giant beast slowly rose to its feet. It stared directly at her. Then its eyes moved to the moonstone necklace around her neck. The enormous wolf suddenly became completely still, as though it had seen a ghost. A voice echoed through the storm. "My king, king." Elara's heart skipped. The silver wolf took one step toward her, then another, and somewhere deep in the forest a man shouted words that made her blood run cold. "Protect the princess." Princess? Who were they talking about? Because there was no princess here. There was only a broken Omega standing in the snow. The snowstorm suddenly became quiet, not because the wind had stopped, because everything around Elara seemed to hold its breath. The giant silver wolf stood before her. Its golden eyes never left her face. They were ancient eyes. Eyes that had seen wars and kings and centuries of secrets. Elara's own breath trembled. She took one small step backward. The wolf did not move. Another step. Still nothing. Then voices echoed through the forest. "They are here. Protect the king." Several large wolves burst from the trees and shifted into human form. Warriors. They wore black armor covered in silver markings. One of them looked at Elara and immediately drew his sword. Another looked at the necklace around her neck and froze. "What is she doing here?" The silver wolf growled. The sound shook the trees. The warriors instantly lowered their heads. A moment later the giant beast stepped forward. Moonlight flowed across his fur. His body began to change. The silver fur disappeared. The enormous shape became human. Elara gasped. A man now stood before her. Tall and powerful. Long silver hair fell over his shoulders. Golden eyes burned like fire. He wore black armor and a silver cloak. There was something terrifying about him. Something that demanded respect. One of the warriors dropped to one knee. "My king, king." The word echoed in Elara's mind. This was him. The legendary Alpha King Kael Silverfang, ruler of the northern packs. The most feared alpha in the world. Elara immediately lowered her head. Her knees almost gave out. The king slowly approached her. Snow settled on his shoulders. He looked at her as if he could not believe she existed. Then his gaze fell to the moonstone hanging around her neck. His expression changed. Oh. Emotions flashed across his face so quickly that she could barely understand them. "Where did you get that necklace?" His voice was deep and calm, but there was something hidden beneath it. Something desperate. Elara swallowed. "I have always had it." His eyes narrowed. "Who gave it to you?" "I do not know." The king stared at her. "Tell me your name." "Elara." She hesitated. "Elara Nightshade." Silence. Even the wind seemed to stop. The warriors exchanged strange looks. One of them whispered something under his breath. The king looked at her for a long time. Then he spoke again. "Who are your parents?" The question stabbed her heart. "I do not know." A shadow crossed his face. Before he could ask another question, a sharp whistle cut through the air. Then came the sound of something flying. The king moved faster than lightning. He pulled Elara against him. An arrow struck the tree behind them. Another arrow flew. Then another. The warriors immediately drew their swords. Assassins! The forest exploded with movement. Dark figures appeared between the trees. They wore black cloaks and masks. Their arrows flew like rain. One warrior fell. Another cried out. The king pushed Elara behind him. "Stay close to me." She could barely breathe. Why were these people attacking the Alpha King? Why were they here? The king shifted again. His enormous silver wolf burst into existence. The ground trembled beneath his paws. He roared. The sound echoed through the mountains. The assassins hesitated. Then the battle began. Wolves leaped through the snow. Swords flashed. Men shouted. The silver wolf tore through the attackers like a storm. Elara had never seen such power. The king was terrifying, beautiful, deadly. An assassin suddenly appeared behind her. A knife flashed. He screamed. Before the blade reached her, the silver wolf crashed into the man. Blood stained the snow. The assassin did not move again. The great beast turned toward her. Those golden eyes searched her face, as though making sure she was unharmed, as though she mattered. No one had ever looked at her like that. Another whistle sounded. More assassins. There were too many. One of the king's warriors ran toward him. "My king, they are not after you," the silver wolf growled. The warrior looked at Elara. "They are after her." Elara's blood turned cold. She was nobody. An unwanted omega. Nothing more. The king looked at her again. Then his gaze dropped to the necklace. Something changed in his expression. Terrible realization. Another arrow flew. This time it came straight toward Elara's chest. The king jumped in front of her. The arrow pierced his shoulder. A growl of pain escaped him. Elara stared in horror. "You are hurt." The great wolf ignored the wound. He simply stood between her and danger, protecting her, protecting a stranger. Tears filled her eyes. No one had ever protected her before. The battle raged on. Then suddenly the earth shook. A deep rumble echoed through the mountains. Everyone froze. The king lifted his head. His eyes widened. Avalanche. The mountain roared. Snow broke free from the cliffs above. A white wall rushed toward the forest. The warriors shouted, "Run!" The assassins fled. Trees snapped. The ground trembled. The avalanche was coming straight toward them. The king turned to Elara. For the first time she saw fear in his eyes. Not fear for himself. For her. He shifted back into human form and grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me." She could barely hear him over the thunder of the snow. "If we are separated, do not remove your necklace." "What is happening?" He looked at her as if he wanted to tell her everything. But there was no time. "Who am I?" she cried. His golden eyes softened. Then he whispered something that made her heart stop. "You are far more important than you know." The avalanche hit. Everything disappeared. Snow swallowed the forest. The force threw them apart. Elara screamed. She reached for him. The king reached for her. Their fingers almost touched. Almost. Then the white storm consumed her. She rolled through darkness and ice. She could not breathe. Could not see. The world became cold and silent. Then everything stopped. For a long time there was nothing. No sound. No pain. No fear. Only darkness. Then she heard a voice. Very faint. Very far away. "She is alive." Another voice answered. "The princess has been found." Princess. Again that word. A warm hand touched her face. Then another voice spoke. "Protect her at all costs." Elara tried to open her eyes. A shadow leaned over her. She saw only a glimpse. A silver symbol. A moon. Then darkness swallowed her once more. Far away in the ruined forest, the Alpha King stood alone beneath the falling snow. His shoulder bled. His heart pounded. He looked at the place where Elara had disappeared. For the first time in many years he felt something close to panic. Because he had finally found the girl he had searched for all his life. And now she was gone. Again. The first thing Elara felt was warmth. Not the cruel warmth of fever. Not the fading warmth of a dying fire. This warmth was soft and gentle. Like sunlight after a long winter. She slowly opened her eyes. A wooden ceiling greeted her. Golden light danced across it. For several seconds she simply stared. Then memory crashed into her. The rejection. The hunt. The giant silver wolf. The avalanche. She sat up so quickly that pain shot through her body. A gasp escaped her lips. "You should not move." The voice belonged to an elderly woman. Elara turned her head. A woman dressed in blue robes sat beside the bed. Her silver hair was tied into a long braid. Kind gray eyes watched her carefully. "Where am I?" The woman smiled. "You are safe." The word sounded strange, almost unfamiliar. Elara looked around the room. It was beautiful. Stone walls covered with tapestries. A fire burning in the corner. Fresh flowers resting beside the bed. Nothing here looked like the harsh world she knew. Who are you? My name is Mira. She poured water into a cup and handed it to Elara. Drink. Elara hesitated. Then she accepted it. The water was cool and sweet. How long have I been here? 3 days. Her eyes widened. 3 days. You slept through most of them. Panic suddenly filled her chest. The king. Myra's expression changed. You remember him. Is he alive? The old woman smiled gently. Yes. Relief washed through Elara so suddenly that she nearly cried. She did not understand why. She barely knew him. Yet the thought of something happening to him had frightened her. He searched for you. She blinked. What? He looked for you after the avalanche. Why? Mira did not answer. Instead she stood and walked toward the window. Outside lay mountains covered in snow. Far below stood a hidden village surrounded by pine trees. It looked like something from a dream. Elara climbed from the bed. Her legs trembled. Please tell me where I am. The old woman slowly turned. You are in Moon Haven. I have never heard of it. Very few have. Silence filled the room. Then Mira spoke softly. This place protects people who must remain hidden. A strange feeling settled inside Elara. Protected. Hidden. The words felt connected to her somehow. Before she could ask another question, the old woman stepped closer. Her eyes softened. You have your mother's eyes. Elara froze. My mother. Mira looked surprised. You do not know. Her heart started beating faster. Know what? The old woman looked at the necklace around Elara's neck. Then she sighed. It seems fate has brought you here before the truth was ready. What truth? Mira did not answer. Instead she gently touched Elara's face. You have suffered too much. Tears suddenly burned Elara's eyes. No one had spoken to her with such kindness since her adoptive mother died. Who are you? She whispered. The old woman smiled sadly. Someone who has been waiting for you. A knock sounded at the door. A young healer entered carrying herbs. He stopped when he saw Elara standing. You are awake. Then his expression became serious. Lady Mira. The old woman immediately understood. Come with me. The two stepped outside. The door closed. Elara stood alone. Her heart pounded. Something was happening. Something about her. Minutes later the door opened again. Mira entered. Her face looked different now. Concerned. Almost worried. Elara. The old woman sat beside her. I need to ask you something. What is it? Before the avalanche did you share a mate bond? Pain pierced her heart. She lowered her eyes. I did. And now? It is broken. Silence. Mira took a deep breath. You should sit down. Fear crawled through Elara. Why? The old woman gently took her hand. You are with child. Everything became still. A room. A fire. The world. Elara stared at her. No. Mira squeezed her hand. You are pregnant. Her breath caught. No. Tears suddenly filled her eyes. No. The word came out broken. This could not be happening. She had never even touched Damon. The old woman spoke softly. Your bond may have broken, but the moon goddess blessed you before the rejection. Elara's hand slowly moved to her stomach. Child. Her child. She began to cry. Not loudly. Just quiet tears. She had lost everything. Her home. Her family. Her future. And now she carried a life inside her. A tiny innocent life that depended on her. Fear gripped her heart. What if they found her? What if they tried to kill the baby too? Mira gently pulled her into an embrace. You are not alone. The words shattered the last of her strength. She cried against the old woman's shoulder. For the first time in years someone held her while she cried. Hours later the sun began to set. Elara sat beside the window. Her hand rested over her stomach. Child. Well, perhaps children. She did not know why, but something deep inside her whispered that she was not carrying only one life. Knock came. Mira entered. There is someone who wishes to meet you. A tall man stepped inside. He had dark hair streaked with silver and calm blue eyes. He looked at Elara with an expression she could not understand. Then he slowly bowed. To her. Elara's eyes widened. Why are you bowing? The man lifted his head. Because I have waited many years for this moment. Her heart skipped. What do you mean? He reached into his cloak. Then he held out a small object. A silver pendant. It carried the same moon symbol as her necklace. She stared at it. I do not understand. The man smiled sadly. You will. He stepped closer. Tell me something. What? Do you have a crescent-shaped birthmark beneath your collarbone? Her blood turned cold. How do you know that? The man looked at Mira. Then back at Elara. Because tears now filled his eyes. Because every member of the Moonborn royal family carries that mark. Silence. The fire cracked softly. Elara could hear her own heartbeat. No. The word barely escaped her lips. It cannot be. The man slowly knelt before her. My name is Gareth. He lowered his head. And I once served your father. Her entire body went numb. My father. He looked up. His eyes shone with emotion. Your Majesty. The room seemed to spin. You are Princess Elara of the Moonborn Kingdom. The world stopped. Princess. The word she had heard in the snow. The word the stranger had shouted. The word that had followed her like a shadow. It was true. She was not an unwanted Omega. She was not nobody. She was a lost princess. And somewhere beyond these mountains a kingdom had been waiting for her return. Princess. The word stayed in the room long after Gareth had spoken it. Elara could not breathe. The fire crackled softly beside her. Outside the snow continued to fall. Everything looked the same. Yet nothing was the same anymore. She looked at the old warrior kneeling before her. Then at Mira. Neither of them looked surprised. They had known. All this time they had known. I think you have mistaken me for someone else. Her voice came out small. Gareth slowly stood. I wish I had. He reached into his cloak and pulled out an old piece of cloth. It was faded with age. Carefully he unfolded it. A silver crest appeared. A moon surrounded by stars. The exact same symbol engraved on her necklace. Elara stared at it. Her fingers trembled. This was the royal banner of the Moonborn Kingdom. She looked at him. I do not remember any kingdom. You were only a baby. His eyes became distant. Your family was attacked 23 years ago. The palace burned. The king and queen disappeared. Their daughter vanished. Silence filled the room. You. He looked at her with emotion. That daughter was you. Elara slowly shook her head. No. You carry the royal mark. No. You wear the royal necklace. No. Tears suddenly filled her eyes. No. She stepped backward. Her entire life had been built upon one truth. That she was unwanted. That she belonged nowhere. Now that truth was breaking apart. And she did not know who she was without it. Mira approached her slowly. Child. Elara looked at her. Why did nobody come for me? The question broke something inside the room. The old woman looked down. Because we thought you were dead. A tear slid down Elara's cheek. And my parents? Mira closed her eyes. We do not know. The answer hurt more than she expected. For a moment she had imagined them alive. Searching for her. Missing her. Waiting for her. But no one knew. They might have died long ago. The room became very quiet. Then Gareth spoke again. The people who remained loyal to your family have been searching for you for years. He lowered his head. And now we have finally found our princess. Princess. The word no longer felt strange. felt heavy, like a crown she was not ready to wear. Her hand slowly moved to her stomach. Then another thought struck her. Terrifying one. If I am truly a princess, then the people who attacked the palace may still be looking for me. Gareth's expression darkened. They are. And my child. She looked up at him. They would hunt my child too. Silence answered her. That silence was enough. Fear settled deep inside her chest. She was no longer running for herself. She was running for someone else. Someone small. Someone innocent. Someone who had never seen the world. Mira gently touched her shoulder. You are safe here. Elara looked into the old woman's eyes. For the first time in many years she believed those words. Days passed. Then weeks. Winter slowly softened. The snow became lighter. The air became warmer. Life inside Moon Haven moved quietly. For the first time in her life nobody shouted at her. Nobody struck her. Nobody treated her like a burden. She ate with others, laughed with children, walked through gardens, and every day she learned something new. About herself, about the lost kingdom, about the family she never knew. But peace never lasted long. One morning she stood beside a lake when Gareth approached her. You should begin your training. She blinked. Training? You are the last heir of Moonborn. He handed her a wooden sword. One day enemies will come. She looked at the weapon. I have never held a sword. Then today is your first day. The training was terrible. You fell. Again and again. Her arms hurt. Her hands blistered. Her legs shook. But she refused to stop. Because every time she thought of quitting she remembered the hunters in the forest. She remembered the arrows. She remembered the fear. She would never be helpless again. Weeks became months. The child inside her grew. So did she. She learned how to fight, how to ride, how to read ancient maps, how to lead. The frightened Omega slowly disappeared. Something new began to emerge. Someone stronger. Someone who could survive. One evening she sat beneath a tree while the sunset painted the sky red. Mira joined her. You have changed. Elara smiled softly. I had to. The old woman looked at her stomach. You will be a wonderful mother. A shadow crossed Elara's face. What if I fail? You will not. What if I cannot protect my child? Mira gently held her hand. Then become the woman who can. The words settled deep in her heart. That night she could not sleep. She stood by the window looking at the stars. Then suddenly she felt it. Movement. Her eyes widened. Again. Tiny kick. A laugh escaped her lips. Then another kick. And another. Tears filled her eyes. Hello, little one. A third kick answered her. She froze. That was impossible. The door opened behind her. Mira entered. One look at Elara's face and she smiled. The babies are awake. Elara turned around. Babies. The old woman laughed softly. You did not know. Babies. Mira nodded. You are carrying twins. For several seconds Elara simply stared. Then she laughed and cried at the same time. Twins. 2 little lives. 2 tiny hearts. Her children. A few months later the first storm of spring arrived. Thunder rolled across the mountains. Rain fell heavily. Inside Moon Haven every light burned brightly. Elara cried out in pain. Mira held her hand. You are doing well. Another wave of pain came. She gripped the blankets. Hours passed. Then at last a tiny cry filled the room. Little girl. Moments later another cry followed. Boy. Tears streamed down Elara's face. Mira gently placed the babies in her arms. The girl had dark hair like hers. The boy had bright silver eyes. She stared at them. At their tiny faces. At their little hands. Love exploded inside her heart. A love so fierce it frightened her. What will you call them? She looked at her daughter. Lyra. Then at her son. Lucian. The babies slept peacefully. As though the world held no dangers. As though darkness did not exist. A knock came at the door. Gareth entered quietly. He smiled at the sight. Then his expression changed. He looked worried. "What is it?" The old warrior took a deep breath. "We received news from the north." Elara's heart tightened. "What news?" Gareth looked at the sleeping twins. Then at her. "The Alpha King is still searching for you." She blinked. "For me?" "He has searched for 5 years." 5 years. Her breath caught. Wait. Why would a king spend years searching for a girl he barely knew? Before she could ask another question, Gareth spoke again. "There is more." His face darkened. "The man who destroyed your family." Silence. "He is still alive." The room suddenly felt cold. "And someone inside the royal court is helping him." Elara looked at her sleeping children. Then back at Gareth. "Traitor. Someone close. Someone powerful. Someone waiting. Watching. And perhaps already searching for her children." 5 years passed like falling snow. The frightened Omega who had once run barefoot through the forest no longer existed. In her place stood a woman. Strong. Dangerous. The mountains of Moon Haven had changed her. Every morning before sunrise she trained with a sword. Every afternoon she studied maps and history. Every night she read the old records of the Moonborn Kingdom. And every moment in between belonged to her children. Lyra and Lucian had become the light of her world. They had her dark hair. But their eyes were different. Lyra's eyes shone silver blue like moonlight. Lucian's eyes glowed a strange golden color whenever he became excited. They were bright children. Too bright. Sometimes they seemed to know things before anyone said them. Sometimes they finished each other's sentences. Sometimes they looked at the moon as if they could hear it whispering. And there was something else. Their wolves had awakened unusually early. No child should have shifted at 5 years old. Yet one spring morning Elara had walked into the garden and nearly dropped her basket. 2 small white wolves had been chasing butterflies. One had blue eyes. The other had golden eyes. She had simply stood there in shock. Then the little wolves turned toward her. A moment later they shifted back into children. "Mama, look." Lucian had laughed. "We did it." She had cried and hugged them both. Not because she was afraid. Because she knew what it meant. Her children were special. Perhaps too special. That evening Gareth and Mira sat with her near the fire. The old warrior looked worried. "This changes everything." "I know. The children must remain hidden." Elara nodded slowly. She already understood. The enemies who had once hunted her would hunt her children too. Because royal blood still flowed in their veins. 'Cause they were heirs. And heirs were dangerous. Outside the fire crackled softly. Lucian slept with his head in her lap. Lyra rested beside her. Elara stroked their hair. "I will never let anyone hurt them." The promise came from the deepest part of her heart. Gareth looked at her. "You sound like a queen." She smiled faintly. "I sound like a mother." Far away from Moon Haven another fire burned. But this one gave no comfort. The great hall of Blackthorn had become colder over the years. The walls looked darker. People looked tired. And Alpha Daemon Blackwood looked like a man haunted by ghosts. He stood beside the window holding a faded blue scarf. It belonged to Elara. He had found it in the forest 5 years ago, the day she disappeared. He should have thrown it away. Instead he carried it everywhere. A knock came at the door. "Enter." Selena walked inside. Her beauty remained. But her eyes had changed. They were hard now. Cruel. "I have been looking for you." Damon said nothing. She crossed her arms. "The southern pack is waiting for your answer." Still nothing. Her expression darkened. "You are thinking about her again." Damon closed his eyes. He was tired of hearing that name. Yet he could never escape it. Elara. It haunted him. In dreams. In silence. In every snowfall. "I asked you a question." He slowly turned. "You may leave." Selena laughed coldly. "You still cannot forget the dead Omega." His jaw tightened. "Leave." Do you know what people say about you? Silence. They say our Alpha became weak because of a servant girl. The room grew colder. Selena stepped closer. You rejected her. She ran away. She died. The story ended years ago. But Damon knew something no one else did. He had searched for her body. For weeks. Nothing. No bones. No blood. No grave. Nothing. And because there was nothing, he could not bury his guilt. At night he remembered her face. Her tears. The way she had looked at him when he rejected her. As though her entire world had shattered. He had wanted power. Strong alliance. A beautiful Luna. Instead he had found emptiness. His eyes slowly lifted. What if she is alive? Selena laughed. Then she is a fool for not staying dead. Something dangerous flashed across his face. For one long second even Selena looked uneasy. Then she smiled again. You should forget her. Damon looked away. Because forgetting her had become impossible. A loud knock interrupted them. One of the warriors rushed inside. Alpha. What is it? We received news from the north. Damon frowned. The Alpha King has moved his army again. Silence. Everyone knew the king had spent years searching for something. No one knew what. Where is he going? The warrior swallowed. Toward the western mountains. Damon frowned. Why would the king continue searching after so many years? Then another thought appeared. Strange one. The king had met Elara on the night of the avalanche. Could the two things be connected? His heart suddenly beat faster. Prepare my horse. The warrior blinked. Now. When the man left, Selena stepped forward. What are you doing? Damon grabbed his cloak. I need answers. About what? He looked at her. About her. But he did not say the words. Hours later he rode through the dark forest. Snow covered the ground. Cold wind touched his face. This was the same forest where he had last seen Elara. The same place where his life had begun to unravel. He dismounted beside the cliff. Everything looked unchanged. Trees, the rocks, the snow. Only he had changed. He walked slowly toward the edge. Then he heard something. Voices. He hid behind a tree. Two traveling merchants stood beside the road. One spoke excitedly. I saw her with my own eyes. The other laughed. You drank too much wine. I swear it. Who? The merchant lowered his voice. A woman in blue riding through the northern villages. So, they called her the Moon Lady. Damon frowned. What does that have to do with anything? The first man looked around. Then whispered. She has the face of a ghost. Silence. They say she looks exactly like the Omega who disappeared from Blackthorn. The world stopped. Damon's breath caught. No. The merchant nodded. I heard she has 2 children and warriors bow to her. The second merchant laughed. You are telling stories. I saw her. Silence. Then the men walked away. Damon remained frozen. 2 children. Warriors bowing. Impossible. Yet his heart would not stop pounding. Could it be? Could she truly be alive? For the first time in 5 years hope entered his heart. Hope. And fear. Because if Elara had survived, then she had lived all these years without him. And if she had become someone important, someone powerful, then perhaps she no longer needed him. The thought hurt more than he expected. He mounted his horse. Then rode north. Faster and faster. Snow flew beneath the horse's hooves. The wind roared. His heart pounded. Hours later he reached a hill overlooking a narrow road. A small group of riders appeared in the distance. At their center rode a woman. She wore a deep blue cloak. Her long black hair danced in the wind. She slowly lifted her face. Silver blue eyes met his. The world stopped. Elara. She was alive. And she looked nothing like the broken Omega he remembered. She looked like a queen. Then a little girl rode beside her. And a little boy. Both children looked up at her and smiled. Damon's heart nearly stopped. Because the boy's eyes were golden. Exactly like the Alpha King's. For a long moment Damon forgot how to breathe. The woman on the road was Elara. There was no mistake. The same silver blue eyes. The same dark hair. The same face that had haunted his dreams for 5 long years. Yet she was different. Everything about her had changed. The shy Omega who once lowered her eyes before everyone was gone. This woman sat straight in the saddle. Confidence surrounded her like a crown. Power moved with her. Even the air around her felt different. Then the little boy laughed at something she said. Elara smiled. The sight struck Damon harder than any blade. He had never seen her smile like that. Not once. Because in his pack she had never been given a reason to smile. The little girl suddenly turned and looked directly at him. Her eyes widened. She tugged on Elara's sleeve. The woman followed her gaze. Their eyes met. Time stopped. Shock flashed across Elara's face. Then it disappeared. Her expression became calm. Almost cold. Damon slowly stepped forward. Elara! The name left his lips like a prayer. The children moved closer to her horse. Protective. As though they sensed danger. Elara gently placed a hand on each of their shoulders. Then she looked back at him. You should not be here, Alpha Blackwood. Title hurt. No warmth. No affection. Nothing. Only distance. He swallowed. You are alive. A small smile touched her lips. As you can see. 5 years of questions filled his mind. 5 years of guilt. 5 years of regret. I searched for you. She looked at him quietly. I know. You knew. She nodded. I heard the stories. A painful silence settled between them. Damon took another step. I thought you were dead. I almost was. Her voice remained calm. Come. That frightened him. He wanted anger. Tears. Anything. Instead she looked at him as if he were a stranger. The little boy frowned. Mama, who is he? Mama. The word echoed in Damon's head. His eyes slowly moved toward the children. The little girl had Elara's eyes. The boy had strange golden eyes. Both children watched him carefully. Something twisted inside his chest. You have children. Elara looked at them and smiled softly. Yes. The warmth in her voice disappeared when she looked back at him. They are my world. Damon could not stop staring at them. How old were they? 5. Almost exactly 5. A terrible thought entered his mind. Oh, impossible. Yet the timing was too perfect. His voice became unsteady. Who is their father? Silence. Even the wind seemed to stop. The little girl frowned. Why do you want to know? Damon could not answer. Elara gently touched her daughter's hair. It does not matter. But it mattered to him. More than anything. Before he could speak again, another sound filled the air. Hooves. Many of them. A group of riders emerged from the forest. At their front rode a man in black armor. Silver hair moved in the wind. Golden eyes burned like sunlight. King Kael Silverfang. The Alpha King's gaze immediately found Elara. Then the children. Then Damon. The air suddenly felt heavy. The king dismounted. Lucian smiled brightly. Uncle Kael. The child ran toward him. Kael caught him in his arms and lifted him high. A rare smile appeared on the king's face. The little girl followed. The king pulled her close as well. Damon stared. The children knew him. Not only knew him, loved him. The sight sent unease through his heart. Kael gently put the children down. Then his gaze moved to Damon. The warmth vanished from his face. Alpha Blackwood. Damon straightened. My king. The two men looked at each other. Neither smiled. Neither looked away. The tension between them felt sharp enough to cut. Then Kael turned toward Elara. You should continue to the village. She looked at him. And you? I will join you shortly. For a moment she seemed reluctant. Then she nodded. The children climbed back onto their horses. As she passed Damon she paused. Just for a second. Then she spoke softly. I survived because I left your pack. The words hit him like a blow. Then she rode away. The children followed. The king remained. Silence settled over the road. Daemon watched her disappear. Then he looked at Kael. "You know her." The king said nothing. "You have known her all these years." Still silence. "Why?" Kael's eyes became cold. "Because she is under my protection." Daemon frowned. "Protection from what?" The king's expression darkened. "From people who failed her." The word stung. Daemon clenched his jaw. "I made mistakes." "Mistakes?" The king repeated the word quietly. "You publicly humiliated her." Daemon looked away. "You rejected her." Silence. "You hunted her." "I never ordered that." "But it happened." The truth cut deeply. Snow began falling again. The king took one step forward. His voice became low. "When I found her, she was bleeding and broken." Daemon said nothing. "She believed she had no value." The king's eyes hardened. "Do you know what kind of cruelty creates a woman like that?" Guilt burned inside him. He remembered her tears, her trembling hands, the look in her eyes. "I regret it." The words sounded weak, even to him. The king studied him for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Regret changes nothing." Silence. Daemon's eyes moved toward the road. The children were gone now. Only their footprints remained. He looked back at Kael. "The boy." The king became very still. "His eyes." Silence. "They look like yours." The king's expression did not change. But something dangerous flashed in his golden eyes. Daemon suddenly remembered the merchant's words. Two children. Warriors bowing. The king searching for Elara. A terrible suspicion formed. His voice became quiet. "Who are those children?" Kael looked at him for a long time. Then he answered. "They are exactly who they need to be." The answer explained nothing. And yet somehow it made Daemon even more uneasy. The king turned to leave. Then he stopped. Without looking back he spoke. "You should return home, Alpha Blackwood." "Why?" A long silence followed. Then the king finally answered. "Because the woman you rejected no longer belongs to your world." With those words he mounted his horse and rode away. Daemon remained alone on the snowy road. The wind blew around him. His heart felt strangely heavy. "No longer belongs to your world." The words repeated again and again. Far ahead Elara and the children reached the village. The twins laughed as they rode. But Elara remained quiet. Very quiet. She had not expected to see Daemon again. Not after all these years. She thought the sight of him would make her angry. Instead she felt nothing. Only distance. Only memories. Lucian looked up at her. "Mama." "Yes." "Why did that man look sad?" She blinked. Children noticed everything. "He carries many regrets." The little boy thought about this. "Did he hurt you?" Her hand tightened on the reins. Then she smiled gently. "A long time ago." The twins exchanged glances. Neither asked another question. That evening the village gathered for dinner. Laughter filled the hall. Music played softly. Yet Elara could not relax. A strange feeling had settled inside her. As though something was about to change. Suddenly the doors burst open. A royal messenger rushed inside. He was breathless. "My king." Kael stood. "What is it?" The messenger looked around the room. Then his eyes found Lucian. His face turned pale. "The mark." Silence fell. Kael's expression changed. "What mark?" The messenger pointed at the boy. Everyone turned. Lucian looked confused. A silver light was glowing through the fabric of his shirt. Directly over his heart. The room became completely silent. Kael slowly walked toward him. Then he gently pulled aside the boy's collar. A crescent-shaped mark shone against his skin. The exact same mark carried by the lost royal bloodline. The king's face went white. Because only one thing could explain this. The child was not merely a royal heir. He was the heir foretold in the ancient prophecy. And someone had just awakened his power. The silver light continued to shine from Lucian's chest. No one moved. No one even breathed. The little boy looked down at himself and frowned. "Mama, why am I glowing?" Elara quickly knelt beside him. Her hands trembled. She gently pulled his shirt aside. Then she saw it. A crescent moon. Bright silver. The same birthmark she carried beneath her collarbone. Her heart nearly stopped. Kael slowly stepped closer. His golden eyes were fixed on the mark. For the first time in years, fear crossed the Alpha King's face. Not fear for himself. Fear for the child. Fear for all of them. Mira whispered softly. "The prophecy." The room seemed to grow colder. Elara looked up. "What prophecy?" Nobody answered immediately. The fire crackled. Outside, the wind sighed against the windows. Finally Gareth stepped forward. "There is an old legend in the Moonborn Kingdom." He looked at Lucian. "It says that one day a child of royal blood will be born with the moon mark." Lucian blinked. "That is me." No one smiled. Gareth's voice became even quieter. "The child will possess power greater than any ruler before him." Elara's hand slowly tightened around her son. "And," the old warrior looked into her eyes, "and those who seek the throne will try to kill him." Silence. Lucian's smile disappeared. Little Lyra immediately moved closer to her brother. She wrapped her small arms around him. "I will not let anyone hurt him." The innocence in her voice almost made Elara cry. She pulled both children into her embrace. The fear she had carried for years suddenly became real. The enemy was no longer searching for her. The enemy would come for her children. Kael looked at the glowing mark. Then he spoke. "It is time." Elara lifted her eyes. "Time for what?" He looked at her. "Time for you to know everything." The room slowly emptied. Only Kael and Elara remained near the fire. The children slept upstairs. Rain had begun to fall outside. The sound filled the silence between them. Kael stood beside the window. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he turned. "When I was 10 years old, my father showed me a portrait." Elara listened quietly. It was a painting of the Moonborn royal family. He paused. There was a little girl in the painting. A strange feeling settled in her chest. "The princess." He nodded. "Princess Elara." Silence. "You looked exactly the same." Her breath caught. "The night I found you in the snow, I recognized your scent." She frowned. "My scent. The Moonborn bloodline carries a unique scent." He looked directly at her. "I knew who you were almost immediately." Elara stared at him. "You knew?" "Yes." Anger flashed through her. "And you said nothing." His expression darkened. "I intended to tell you." "Then why did you not?" Pain flickered in his eyes. "Because the assassins attacked." The anger inside her faded. She remembered the arrows. The avalanche. Chaos. Kael slowly approached. "When I lost you that night, I believed history had repeated itself." "What do you mean?" He looked at the fire. 23 years ago I was there." Her heart skipped. "Where?" "At the Moonborn Palace." Silence. His voice became heavy. "I was only a boy." He closed his eyes. "I saw the palace burn." A shiver ran through her. "I saw soldiers everywhere." His jaw tightened. "And I saw a servant carrying a baby into the forest." Elara's eyes widened. "You saw me?" He nodded. "I searched for that child for years." The room became very still. "You were searching for me?" "Yes." "Why?" He looked at her as though the answer should have been obvious. "Because I made a promise." Silence. "To whom?" He looked away. "Your mother." Tears filled her eyes. "My mother." He nodded slowly. "The queen was dying." His voice became rough. "Before she died, she begged my father to protect her daughter." Elara could not breathe. Kael continued. "My father failed." He looked back at her. "But I refused to." A tear slid down her cheek. "All these years. All this time." Someone had been searching for her. Someone had not forgotten. The room felt warmer suddenly. Then another question entered her mind. If you knew who I was, then why did the assassins attack? Kael's expression darkened. Because someone discovered that I had found you. Silence. The traitor. He nodded. There has always been someone inside the royal court helping our enemies. Rain struck the windows harder. Elara slowly stood. Who is it? I do not know. A long silence followed. Then suddenly someone knocked at the door. Gareth entered. His face looked pale. What happened? The old warrior swallowed. We have a visitor. Kael frowned. Who? Gareth looked directly at Elara. Your stepsister. Everything inside her turned cold. Selena. Here. Impossible. Moments later the doors opened. Selena stepped into the hall. She looked exactly as Elara remembered. Beautiful. Cruel. Her eyes immediately found Elara. For a long second neither woman moved. Then Selena smiled. Poisonous smile. You are alive. Elara remained silent. The other woman slowly walked closer. I always wondered. Her smile widened. What your face looked like after death. Kael's expression became dangerous. You should choose your next words carefully. Selena ignored him. Her eyes remained on Elara. I must admit I was disappointed when I heard you survived. The old pain stirred inside Elara. But only for a moment. Then it disappeared. Because the woman standing here was no longer the frightened Omega. She was stronger now. Much stronger. Why are you here? Selena's smile slowly faded. Damon sent me. Elara's expression did not change. He wishes to speak with you. I have nothing to say to him. I expected that. Silence. Then Selena's eyes moved around the room. They landed on the staircase. On the children's toys. Then she smiled again. So the rumors are true. Elara became still. You really do have children. Kael stepped forward. Leave. But Selena was no longer looking at him. She was staring at Elara. Then her eyes narrowed. As though she had suddenly remembered something. Memory. Secret. Her smile slowly disappeared. You have your mother's necklace. The room froze. Elara's heart skipped. You remember it. Selena looked disturbed. For the first time she seemed frightened. I remember the night your mother died. Silence. Kael's eyes sharpened. What did you say? Selena realized her mistake too late. She stepped backward. But Elara was already in front of her. What do you know? The other woman swallowed. What happened to my mother? Selena's face turned pale. You should not ask questions. Elara grabbed her arm. What happened? Fear flashed in Selena's eyes. Then she whispered words that shattered the room. I saw my father kill her. Silence. Absolute silence. The world seemed to stop turning. Elara's hand slowly fell away. No. Selena looked as though she wanted to take the words back. But it was too late. Tears suddenly filled Elara's eyes. My father. The woman nodded weakly. He found her in the forest. Another tear slipped down Elara's face. He took the necklace. She looked at the moonstone around Elara's neck. But she hid it with you before she died. The room became deadly quiet. The truth finally stood before her. Her adoptive mother had not abandoned her. She had been murdered. And the man she had called father for 23 years was her killer. Before anyone could speak, another voice echoed from the doorway. Cold, familiar voice. And she was not the only one I killed. Everyone turned. A tall man stood in the open doorway. Elara's blood turned to ice. Her stepfather. He smiled slowly. Then he looked directly at her. Hello, princess. No one moved. The fire crackled softly. Rain whispered against the windows. And in the doorway stood the man who had ruined Elara's entire life. Her stepfather. The man she had called father. The man who had beaten her. Insulted her. Treated her like dirt. And now she knew the truth. He had murdered the only woman who had ever loved her. He smiled as though he had arrived at a family dinner. Do not look so surprised. Elara could barely breathe. Her hands trembled. You killed her. The words came out like broken glass. He stepped into the room. I did. No shame. No regret. Nothing. Only coldness. Tears filled Elara's eyes. Why? The man shrugged. She knew too much. The room became silent. She found you in the forest and decided to keep you. His eyes darkened. She thought she could hide a princess. A shiver ran through Elara. She wanted to protect you. And that made her dangerous. His voice remained calm, as though he were discussing the weather. I gave her a choice. The room seemed to grow colder. Forget the child or die. Elara's heart pounded. And she refused. A tear slipped down her cheek. The man smiled. She died because of you. The words struck like a knife. For one terrible moment she felt like a little girl again. Helpless, broken, alone. Then a hand touched hers. Warm, steady, full. She looked at him. The king stood beside her. His golden eyes were filled with anger. Not toward her. Toward the man in front of them. You should stop speaking. Her stepfather laughed. Or what? Kael took one step forward. The entire room seemed to tremble. Or I will forget that I am a king. Silence. Even the man stopped smiling. Because everyone knew the stories. Everyone knew what happened when the Silver King became angry. But the man quickly recovered. He looked at Elara. You finally know the truth. She wiped her tears away. You murdered my mother. Yes. You hunted me. Yes. You tried to kill me. A small smile appeared on his lips. Many times. The pain inside her chest changed. It became something else. Something hotter. Stronger. Anger. For years she had accepted every cruelty. Every insult. Every wound. No more. She slowly stepped forward. The room watched in silence. The man smiled. What are you going to do, princess? Another step. You were always weak. Another. You always cried. She stopped in front of him. The man laughed. Then her hand moved. The slap echoed through the hall. Silence. Absolute silence. The man stared at her in disbelief. A red mark appeared on his cheek. Elara's hand trembled. Not from fear. From strength. She had finally done something she had dreamed of her entire life. You will never call me weak again. Her voice was calm. Cold. The room remained silent. Then little Lyra clapped her hands. Good job, Mama. The moment was so unexpected that several people almost smiled. Her stepfather's face turned dark. You dare. I do. He raised his hand. Mistake. Before he could touch her, Kael grabbed his wrist. The king squeezed. A cry of pain escaped the man. Kael's voice became deadly. You will never raise your hand to her again. Fear flashed through the man's eyes. For the first time. Real fear. Guards entered the room. The king did not look away from the prisoner. Take him. The man struggled. You cannot arrest me. Kael finally released him. I can do much worse. The guards dragged him away. As he disappeared through the doors, he looked back at Elara. You still know nothing. The words made everyone pause. Elara frowned. What do you mean? The man smiled. Terrible smile. The man who destroyed your family. Silence. He is much closer than you think. Then the doors closed behind him. The room remained still. A strange unease settled over everyone. Closer than you think. What did he mean? That night a public trial was held in Moon Haven. The entire village gathered. Torches burned brightly. Rain had finally stopped. The prisoner stood in chains. Selena stood beside him, pale and shaking. Elara looked at the crowd. 5 years ago she had stood before hundreds of people and been humiliated. Tonight she stood before them again. But this time she was not alone. Kael stood at her side. Her children sat nearby, and the people looked at her with respect. Gareth stepped forward. The crimes are clear. He looked at the prisoner. Murder. The crowd murmured. Attempted murder. More whispers. Treason. Silence. The old warrior raised his voice. How do you answer? The man lifted his head. I regret nothing. Gasps spread through the crowd. Elara stared at him. Even now, even after everything, he felt no guilt. Suddenly Selena stepped forward. Tears streamed down her face. I do. Everyone looked at her. She turned toward Elara. I knew. Silence. I knew what my father did. A painful stillness filled the square. I was young but I knew. Her voice shook. I should have told someone. Tears fell faster. I should have protected you. Elara looked at her quietly. For years she had hated this woman. Perhaps she always would. But for the first time she saw something she had never seen before. Regret. Real regret. Selena slowly fell to her knees. I am sorry. The crowd watched, waiting. Elara said nothing, because some wounds were too deep for words. Gareth raised his hand. The prisoner is guilty. The people shouted their agreement. The sentence was given. Exile forever. The man laughed as the guards took him away. You are all fools. He looked at Elara one last time. The game has only begun. Then he disappeared into the darkness. The trial ended. People slowly left the square. The night became quiet. Elara stood alone beneath the stars. Footsteps approached. She already knew who it was. Damon. He stopped a few steps away. For a long moment neither of them spoke. Finally he looked at her. I heard everything. She remained silent. His eyes were filled with pain. I did not know what happened to you. No. You suffered because of people I trusted. The wind moved through the trees. I am sorry. The words were soft, broken. She looked at him. The proud Alpha had changed. He looked tired, older, almost lonely. I should have protected you. Silence. I should have chosen you. Another silence. I should have loved you. A tear slipped down his cheek. I was a coward. The night seemed to hold its breath. Then Elara finally spoke. You are right. He closed his eyes. Because there was nothing to defend. Nothing to deny. I cannot change the past. No. But I would spend the rest of my life trying to make it right. She looked at him quietly. Then she shook her head. You cannot. The words shattered him. She stepped closer. Her voice was gentle. You regret losing me. He looked up. But you never truly saw me. Tears filled his eyes. I see you now. She smiled sadly. That is the tragedy. Silence. You only learned my value after I was gone. The words cut deeper than any blade. Damon lowered his head. He finally understood. He had not lost his mate that night. He had thrown her away. A scream suddenly shattered the silence. Came from the village. Then another. Then chaos. Elara turned. A guard came running. His face was white. My queen. Her heart stopped. What happened? The guard could barely breathe. The children. Everything inside her froze. What about my children? The guard looked at her with horror. Prince Lucian is gone. Everything stopped. The world. The wind. Her heartbeat. Elara stared at the guard. Mo, mo, mo. The words screamed inside her mind. She ran before anyone could say another word. Kael was right behind her. Damon followed. The entire village erupted into chaos. Torches were lifted. Warriors drew their swords. People shouted directions. Elara reached her house and burst through the door. Lyra sat on the floor crying. Mira held her tightly. The little girl's face was pale. Mama! Elara dropped to her knees and pulled her daughter into her arms. Where is your brother? Lyra sobbed against her chest. A man took him. The room seemed to tilt. What man? The little girl shook her head. He wore a black cloak. Kael's face darkened. The traitor. Elara looked at her daughter. Did you see his face? Lyra nodded slowly. He had a silver ring with a moon on it. Silence. Gareth suddenly looked horrified. I know that ring. Everyone turned. It belongs to the royal advisor. The room became very quiet. Kael's jaw tightened. Malric. The name fell like thunder. Elara looked at him. You know him. He served my father. Another terrible truth. The traitor had been close to the throne all along. He had hidden in plain sight. Lyra suddenly gripped Elara's sleeve. He said something. What did he say? The little girl wiped her tears. He said the moon child belongs to him. Kael's expression changed. The prophecy. Lara stood. Where would he take my son? Gareth looked toward the mountains. Then his face turned pale. The old palace. Silence. The burned palace of Moonborn. The place where everything had begun. Elara's eyes filled with fire. He wants the royal bloodline. Kael nodded. He believes Lucian's power can give him the throne. Daemon stepped forward. Then we do not have much time. For the first time since arriving in Moonhaven, he sounded like a true alpha. Kael looked at him, then nodded once. The three of them mounted their horses. Snow had begun falling again. As if the world had returned to the night, everything changed. They rode through the darkness. Faster, faster, faster. Elara's hands shook on the reins. She could still hear Lucian's laugh. See his smile. Feel his tiny hand in hers. Fear gripped her heart. Oh, she would not lose him. She had lost enough. The ruined palace finally appeared. Broken towers stood beneath the moon. The place looked like a ghost. Dark, silent, waiting. A light flickered inside. They had arrived. Kael looked at Elara. We do this together. She nodded. The three entered the palace. Broken stones covered the floor. Old banners hung in pieces. The air smelled of smoke and dust. Then they heard it. Child's voice. Mama. Lucian. Lara ran. She entered the great hall and froze. Her son stood in the center of the room. Chains of silver surrounded him. Beside him stood an old man in dark robes. The royal advisor. Ulrich. His eyes glowed with madness. At the sight of Elara he smiled. The lost princess. Elara stepped forward. Let him go. Malric laughed. You look so much like your mother. Hatred burned inside her. You destroyed my family. No. He shook his head. I saved this kingdom. Silence. The Moonborn line had become weak. He looked at Lucian. But this child. His eyes gleamed. This child carries the ancient power. Kael stepped forward. You murdered a kingdom for power. Malric smiled. And I would do it again. He raised a dagger. Lucian cried out. Elara's heart nearly stopped. Please. The word escaped before she could stop it. The old man looked at her. You beg for your child. Tears filled her eyes. I will do anything. A strange sadness crossed his face. So did your mother. The room became still. Then his expression hardened again. But mercy has no place in a kingdom. He lifted the dagger. Everything happened at once. Kael shifted. The enormous silver wolf burst forward. Daemon lunged. Lara ran. Malric shouted. The dagger fell. Then a bright silver light exploded from Lucian's body. The entire palace shook. Everyone froze. The little boy's eyes glowed like stars. The chains shattered. A powerful wave of energy burst through the hall. Malric was thrown backward. The walls trembled. Dust rained from above. Lucian looked terrified. Mama! Elara reached him first. She wrapped her arms around him. The silver light slowly faded. The little boy began to cry. I was scared. She held him tighter. I know. Tears streamed down her face. I am here. Behind them Malric slowly stood. Blood ran down his face. His eyes were wild. The power belongs to me. He drew another blade. Then Kael stood between him and the child. The Alpha King shifted back into human form. Golden eyes burned. No! Malric charged. The battle was quick. One strike. Then another. Finally Kael's sword pierced the old man's chest. Silence filled the hall. The royal advisor stared at him. Then he laughed softly. Even now. Even as he died. You are too late. Kael frowned. Malric looked at Elara. Then smiled. Your mother lived. The world stopped. What? Blood touched his lips. The queen escaped the fire. Elara could not breathe. Where is she? The old man smiled one final time. Find the lake of silver. Then the light left his eyes. Silence. Only silence remained. Elara stood frozen. Her mother. Alive. Could it be true? Lucian gently touched her hand. Mama. She looked at him. Then pulled him and Lyra into her arms. Both children were safe. That was enough. Now. Outside, the first light of dawn touched the mountains. The war was over. Days later, the kingdom gathered in the restored palace. People filled the great hall. Banners of Moonborn hung proudly once more. At the center stood Elara. She wore silver and blue. A crown rested upon her dark hair. Lyra and Lucian stood beside her. The people knelt. Long live Queen Elara. The words echoed through the hall. Tears filled her eyes. The unwanted Omega had become a queen. The lost child had found her home. Damon stepped forward. He bowed his head. I owe you everything. She smiled softly. You owe me nothing. He looked at her one last time, then stepped back. Last he understood. Some mistakes cannot be undone. Some loves cannot be reclaimed. Kael approached her. For a moment they simply looked at each other. Then he smiled. A rare gentle smile. You finally came home. A tear slipped down her cheek. Yes. He reached into his pocket. Then he held out a small silver ring. Elara frowned. What is this? His golden eyes softened. It belonged to my father. She looked at him in confusion. Then he spoke the words that changed everything. The night we met in the snow, I recognized more than your scent. Silence. I recognized our bond. Her breath caught. What bond? Kael smiled. The moon goddess gives second chances. The hall became very quiet. You were never meant to end your life beside the man who rejected you. He gently took her hand. I am your true mate. For one long moment she could not speak. Then she felt it. Warmth. Soft and beautiful. A golden thread appeared between them. The mate bond. Real. Live. The children gasped happily. Lyra smiled. I knew it. Everyone laughed. Tears filled Elara's eyes. After all the pain, after all the loss, fate had finally brought her home. And beneath the light of the rising sun, the queen kissed her king while an entire kingdom celebrated the beginning of a new story.